Hi, Better Wives. This is Trinisha, and I wanted to give you guys some insight this evening about what I've been through in my marriage. I've been married for 6 years. We celebrated our 6 year anniversary in September of this year, which is 2015. And there are a few things that we have gone through every stage of our marriage, and I just wanted to share some of that with you guys. So, the first year was all about learning each other. I had never lived with a man before, and this was my husband's second marriage. So we spent our first year trying to figure it out with each other, and I had to adjust to what it was like being a wife, and I kind of had a false idea of what a wife looked like. Just the stuff that I had seen, in the public eye or on movies or from reading books. And there's no perfect formula for what a wife is. So the first year was again about learning each other. Year two was all about seeing if we could make it. Our second year of marriage was extremely difficult for us. We fought a lot. I had a hard time compromising, and I was very stubborn, and I was argumentative, and we just butted heads all the time, just constantly. So while the first year was all about learning each other, that second year was really all about, we were kind of selfish. So I made the marriage all about me. I felt like he should make me happy. He should do things for me, while I didn't feel like I had to put forth the effort. And I think he pretty much felt the same way. And so that year, I wasn't even sure if we were going to make it past that second year of marriage or make it to our second year anniversary because it was so challenging for us. Year three was compromising and repairing our love. So, what we learned in year one, when we were trying to figure each other out in year two, was trying to keep our marriage. Year three was really about understanding what would make this marriage last when what we were doing before wasn't really working for us. And we had a lot of damage that had been done to our marriage because of our own selfish ways. So we spent that year trying to fix it, trying to play catch up. Year four was mostly enjoying each other. So we kind of just put everything that we had gone through behind us, and we started to really understand what our love was about and just kind of start fresh. Year five is using what we've learned to love each other more. So every year of our marriage, we learned something new, and I think that year five was just putting all the pieces of those puzzles together and building something strong, like having a strong foundation for ourselves and for our marriage. And then year six was making our marriage all about us, knowing that it was okay to be selfish with each other's time, knowing that we could, sneak off for a weekend getaway and not feel guilty because, our kids weren't going with us, or, our family didn't know where we were going or anything. We were just able to really relax and enjoy the amount of love and the relationship that we've built together over the past few years. And even though we've only been married for 6 years, we've been together almost 10. So that first year and a half, we just, we're starting to get to know each other and just starting to date and everything. And then after the year and a half, we got engaged. And shortly after that, we did live together. We got engaged in March. We moved together in July. And then we got married the following year in September. So we lived together, almost a year and a half together. But for some reason, it was really different because, I don't know, dating and living together, for some reason, it's a lot different from when you're married and you're living together because, you don't have that same commitment that you have when you're married. At any time during that dating process, if you say, I don't really think this is working for us. You can move out and get your own place, or he can leave and get his own place. And it doesn't mean the relationship is necessarily over. But as far as being married, you have to make that work. It makes no sense for me, for a husband and wife to live separately and still have a strong relationship. So that was the difference between when we were living together, when we were engaged, and then that transition into when we got married. So there were a few things that I made note of after just thinking about the 6 years that we've spent being married. And my question to you is, what kind of damage has been done to your marriage? Can it survive, or is it irreparable damage? Does all of the blame fall on you or on your spouse? What role do you play in where your marriage currently is and where you currently stand? So just think about that. And, if you hold some of the blame, then, take the proper steps on seeing what you need to do about yourself to fix it. If your husband has his share of where your marriage is, then that's a really good opportunity to use your communication tools and talk about it. I used to be so hot-headed where I couldn't really talk to my husband without getting mad or upset and start crying. So, in the beginning, I started writing him letters. So that means that I can get all of my thoughts out without raising my voice, without, him butting in with rebuttals. So I wrote him a letter, put all my thoughts out there, and that way he can take a quiet second to read my thoughts without hearing my tone, without him needing to interject or defend his position or anything like that. So if you do have a problem right now with communicating, think about how you can communicate better. And if writing a letter when you're, going through something is going to be helpful for you rather than starting an argument, then take the time to write the letter. Another thing that I wrote down is basically I looked back on where my marriage was 5 years ago, and if I had remained as stubborn as I was then, and if my husband had remained just as stubborn as he was at the time, we wouldn't have survived our marriage. We wouldn't have made it worth the time and the effort to get through any circumstances that we were currently going through, because we would have both been too stubborn to say, what, this marriage is bigger than my stubbornness or your stubbornness. It's amazing what standing in your own way can do to you in your current circumstance. Everyone deserves one mistake, and everyone deserves a second chance. The same mercy, grace, and forgiveness that God shows us every day should be the same things that we are showing our spouses on a daily basis. So just remember that if you just put into context what you have done in your life and how God has been disappointed in you, or how you've disappointed God, and how he still keeps showing you good things in your life all the time, constantly blessing your life and blessing your marriage, then think about that as it relates to the unity that God has blessed for you and your spouse. Think about, can you show your husband grace and mercy and forgiveness? Forgiveness doesn't always take pain away, but it does help you in your healing process. So just a few words for you guys tonight, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing our group with your friends and your family. All right. Have a great night.